Welcome to the Moose's LZ Bar and Grill Weekend Wrap, where we highlight a few of the storylines that occurred in sprint car racing over the weekend. Before we get to those highlights, don't forget to check out Moose's LZ Bar and Grill in Jonestown, PA for great food at a great price. You won't regret it. On Sunday, saw my daughter's track meet, was taking in some hockey on the couch, NHL playoffs, one of my favorites, and sprint car world just got wild all of a sudden mid-afternoon. Started with Parker Price Miller announcing on Twitter that he was splitting with the McCandless team, which is based out of Western PA, which was a little odd because I thought the team had some good speed through the early stages of the season, thought things were going well, but this had to do with the direction of the team. And then later that evening, it got a little more bizarre when Crouch Motorsports announced via Twitter that they, along with talented young driver Buddy Kofoid, were parting ways effective immediately. Again, stunned might be an understatement. And we're going to focus kind of on the Crouch Kofoid situation because they've had a pretty good early season resume that featured one at World of Outlaw win, 5 top fives and 10 top 10 finishes in 17 World of Outlaw events, and they contended for a couple more wins. Until last week's double DQ at Eldora Speedway, they were 5th in the World of Outlaw standings despite being a platinum member. So this comes as a little bit of a surprise to many. To me, not as much, but the timing still is bizarre. There have been a lot of rumors surrounding why this happened. They range from poor Eldora performance to one side of the equation, whether it be Kofoid or Crouch wanting to go World of Outlaw racing full time, and the other side not wanting to make that leap. A lot of fans who are in neither camp just are scratching their heads on why this would happen. You see a well-funded team with a talented driver, which Kofoid obviously is, and is a future star. But being around the pit area, this is more about personalities. It just didn't work out. We've seen this a lot through history. You could have, Greg Hodnett with Al Hamilton and Timmy Elwell, and you had one of the best crew chiefs, and Moon Byers for that matter, best crew chiefs, best drivers, best well-funded team. Just didn't work out for whatever reason, and that's kind of what happened here. What does this mean? Crouch Motorsports is going to be fine. They'll have no problem getting another driver. They're well-funded. They have early season speed. They performed on the big stage. And drivers are going to definitely be calling Leighton Crouch to get in that ride if they haven't already started or have inked a deal for later in the week with World of Outlaws coming to Central Pennsylvania. As for Kofoid, I've said many times, this is one of the most talented young drivers I've ever seen, right up there with, Kyle Larson, Stevie Smith Jr. back in the 80s. I'm sure at some point he should and will land on his feet and get a ride, and we'll see plenty of Buddy Kofoid moving forward. Donny Schatz entered Let's Race 2 on a string of 8 straight races in which he finished outside of the top 5 in World of Outlaws competition. He also competed in one high limit race and finished 8th, but his average finish during this last 8 races has been 12th. That kind of changed at Eldora Speedway. He ended that string as a 10-time World of Outlaw champion, bounced back to hammer out a pair of podiums. More important than his 2nd and 3rd place finish was that he was in contention to win each night, including on night 2 when he started 11th and was able to dice with Rico Abreu, the eventual winner, who we'll talk about in a minute, for the victory. The car had speed. It was maneuverable, a combination that's really been kind of lacking this season for Schatz and Tony Stewart Racing. I'm not going to say that this group is back on track and they're going to be weekly contenders. I don't think 2 races is enough of a sample size to do that. That's yet to be seen. I think, they come to Pennsylvania this week. Lincoln's Not one of Donnie's best tracks. The Grove is. Weather could be a factor. So, hey, let's pump the brakes, wait and see. Eldora is one of Schatz's best tracks. I think he probably has 555 wins there, it seems like. And he could probably drive a horse and buggy blindfolded around that place and put it in the top 5. But again, it was an encouraging weekend, and I'm anxious to see what happens from here on out and if this carries forward. We talked about Rico Abreu winning night 2 of Let's Race 2 at Eldora Speedway, and he hasn't had a problem with speed all season or performance for that matter. The California driver showed it over the weekend at Eldora with a runner-up finish on Friday night, and then came back, obviously got the win on Saturday, and it was his 3rd World of Outlaw win of 2023, which really impressive in only 14 starts, including 2 high-limit races, obviously. If anyone is wondering whether Abreu can continue this run, don't. I think Abreu, along with Ricky Warner, they found a good chemistry together. I think they found the right combination as far as this team, having the right people in the pit area with them to maximize each trip to the racetrack, which they've done this year. He has 3 World of Outlaw wins, like I said. He has 5 top 5 finishes with him and 10 top 10s in 14 events overall this season. Keep in mind, one of Abreu's worst finishes came in at Lakeside Speedway in the high limit race. He was pulling away from the field before having a flat tire, which cost him the win, which would have been his 4th, would have been his 4th of the season. And it cost him $50,000, which we put out our national poll last week. You add that race to it, I have to give him serious consideration for the number 1 spot. I had him number 4 in our national poll behind Carson Macedo, David Gravel, Brad Sweet, but he would have definitely got consideration for the top spot. And if he continues at this pace, he's going to be in the top 5 and might be in that top spot later in the year. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Moose's LZ Bar and Grill Weekend Wrap. For more coverage of sprint car racing across the country, check out sprintcarunlimited.com. A yearly subscription is only $35, which includes results, features, a weekly podcast, and much more. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Moose's LZ Bar and Grill Weekend Wrap.